these are the things that you always remember, the kindness that people show you. This is what I will remember, and I will hope to do the same for others.
Creative Conversations.
Zouk family, welcome back. It's another week talking to a musical superstar. Very recently, we talked to Joe Flizzo from one end of the musical spectrum, and this man here is not just the most beautiful voice in Malaysia, but he's one of the most charismatic people in the music scene. I had the pleasure of working with him once, but he has been a much bigger name in the music scene than ever I could have fathomed I would get the chance to work so closely with. Russell, how on earth are you?
I'm good, man, and it's really good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Joseph Ryan, my old compadre.
Russell, it's been 5 years, but you have been a megastar in this country for much longer. You've been a prominent recording artist. You've helped other people with their careers. You've helped launch venues, nights. You've written albums, so on and so forth. You even managed to get a mobile phone company to give us more data through the medium of writing a song. Which I remember very well. But can you just tell us, for the people who'll be watching this over in Las Vegas, where Zouk Vegas is being built, for Singapore, Hong Kong, and of course your hometown Malaysia, give us a bit of a background to Russell Curtis.
Well, basically, all those things, as kind as it is of you to say and nice to hear, I don't really relate to any of those titles. Like well-known superstar Malaysian. I am an independent recording artist. I've always been an independent. Even when I was with the label, which was my first single, we were always the underdogs. My band at that time, Curtis Blues Review. But I've always dedicated my efforts towards more quality. So it's never been the chase of the glory and the fame and whatnot. The bright lights. Bright lights are nice, but it's always been to serve the project, which is why I've worked on various different projects, as you mentioned, everything from putting out my own material to helping venues launch their own music programs. Rock the House, something that we worked on, which turned out to be an awesome thing. At the core of it all, I guess my mission has always been to serve the scene, because I think when you elevate a scene, you elevate all those within that scene, and it only gets better with healthy competition. The bigger the scene gets, the more people develop, and so that's always been my thing. I worked with telcos to put Malaysia on a level at which it would sort of like light a fire under each and every artist, to say that, you know what, if we're going to be taken seriously, we have to take ourselves seriously, take our work seriously. So yeah, that's basically been what I've always been about, and I've worked with a bunch of people. I like to think that I can walk into anyone's office and say, look, we have a project and we can work on it, and they know that I take my work very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch for that. Rock the House was a phenomenal project. It turned out it was an idea of Russell's that we basically groomed at a venue that was in downtown Kuala Lumpur, where basically we did a very successful band search that led to the victory of Riot Jones, who went on to be huge in Malaysia. We were on Trax FM every week for 12 weeks. I think we managed to get Double D in trouble with the amount we plugged our venue at that point. We must have mentioned about 650 times in total. But it was a phenomenal to watch how you managed to cultivate an idea which was grassroots level support for your own artists and friends into this tiny venue that really only held about 100 people inside. I remember the grand final, which had Riot Jones winning.
We went up to 300 people, I think. We were spilling out onto the streets, in fact.
It was so that we had to open up the interfoldable doors, and we had people in the street. It was just, and it was a Sunday night, the hardest night.
Sunday night. Yeah. You had the rest of track asking me, so how'd you get 300 people to show up on a Sunday night? But you see, that's a very interesting thing, how that happened, right? As I said before, a competition, it always has to be a win-win situation. I'm not saying that, I'm a soldier for the scene and forget all forget the commerce aspect of it, because without businesses that thrive, there is no scene either. We're all part of an ecosystem. And if you remember in the early stages when we were negotiating the concept, and I said the price has to be 10,000 ringgit. It has to be, and you were like, that's a lot, and which it is, which is why no other venue did it at the time. We did it because I made it very clear how important that 10,000 was, so that an act like Riot Jones could take that money and invest it in putting out a product their own, like a single or a video. It gives them a little bit of seed money. And when you guys saw that, you understood that. You're like, okay, you know what? I remember you said this to me, that Russell, leave it with me. I will get you the money. Let's get this show on the road. And all these things came together, and that's why it blew up the way it did, I think.
Yeah, it was great, Russell. And I will always remember for my entire career, regardless of what I've done, Rock the House is something that's very special to me. And we had a lot of fun. More importantly, we had a lot of fun. We had a judging panel. Each week it was yourself, it was another industry expert, it was Time Out magazine, and Double D was the host. I mean, more importantly, we made it somewhere that people wanted to go. And I think that's what you're a specialist in. But let's take a step back. So how did you get started singing? I mean, why? I mean, obviously, you would have been encouraged to follow, I'm guessing, a more generic career, a safer career, and then boom, you went out and made a huge success of singing.
Encouraged is I would say, it's a very soft word. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse to choose to walk the path of having a real job and stuff like that. But honestly, and this is gonna sound cliche, but it is the truth. I honestly didn't choose this; it chose me. So I was very different. I didn't start like my predecessors. I came from a musical family. Obviously, my late uncle was a genius in his own right. The only Malaysian to ever be featured in Time magazine, ranked on global list of guitar player magazines and stuff. So he was always a huge influence. I'm talking about the late Paul Ponadore. He was always a huge influence in my music. But you see, that's sort of a double-edged sword. To have a giant like that be your influence also shows you how little you are, because he truly was a giant. And to see how he navigated through his career, there weren't a lot of opportunities for him here in Malaysia. It was only once he moved to Singapore that the rest of the world opened up to him. So it's sort of like you see that, and you hear your family telling you, no, this is not a sustainable career. This is not the life that you want. So yeah, you buy into the whole thing. So music is just a fun thing. So as for fun, I was singing since I was like 12, 13, 12, I think. It was my first music competition I took part in school, and I won. That was when I realized I could sing, and girls like you more when you can sing. So that was it. That was what it was, just singing for fun. Grew up, went through college, graduated, had, set goals for myself, settled down, dabbling, no doubt, still for fun. On the weekends, maybe there'll be like a gig here and there. Settled down, had the wife, had a kid, and a friend of mine who was also involved in the advertising scene, as well as doing voiceovers, working in studios and production. His name is Sean Thaddeus, and he's moved to Australia now for many years. So he was working on a project with Astro, and Astro was like, apart from RTM, Astro and Media Prima are the only two national networks in the country, right? So they had a new program called Blast Off. It was a talent search band category as well as vocal group category, and he went and signed me up for it. He said, "I've signed your band up, Curtis Blues Review, for the audition. I've done my part as a friend. Rest is up to you. Go for it. Don't go for it. It's on you. All on you." So I was like, okay, let's see. We looked at the audition days. We couldn't make any of the KL dates. So I said, why don't we take the one in JB, Johor, which is down south, just before Singapore, make a trip of it. Went for the audition. Didn't even think we'd pass or get through the audition. Went for the audition, had an awesome weekend, party. We used to party so much back then. Came back to KL about a week later. We got the call saying that, okay, you guys made it through to the next round. So you're selected out of all the acts We've chosen only 10 bands. You're one of the 10, so you're gonna be on the show." I was like, "Oh wow, okay." We'll get kicked out in the first round, maybe the eliminations, and we made it through that round and the next and the next, and we went all the way to the finals. I ended up quitting my job. This was in 2005 because I was missing so much of work, and we got offered. We were runner up, and we got offered a recording deal with Maestro, and that was the first single that came out in 2006. Song's called Funky Freak. And I didn't know what was going to happen after that. I was with the Media Prima for a while, and just still trying to find my footing. Went back to work, but it was only in 2008 when I got offered the position of entertainment director for the Quattro Group. They were going to open up a bunch of clubs, and I figured, hey, now it's now or never. They gave me a pretty good deal, so I could still sustain my family, and that was it. 2008, and I've been in entertainment ever since.
And no regrets at all. No regrets at all.
If anyone tells you there's no regrets, they've decided not to have any regrets, because I think regret is a natural human reaction to things. So I don't think it's fair to say I have no regrets, but I have no regrets about going down this road. My regrets are more on a micro level. If I'd done things slightly differently here and there, but no macro regrets. I honestly, that's what I meant when I said this chose me, because I think I could be good at quite a few things. I mean, I was good at my day job, but this is something that gives me a lot of joy, a lot of fulfillment, and I think life's too short to not live and enjoy what you do every day.
I think that's phenomenal advice, especially for young people watching this who may be confused about what to do. And I've spoken to people in a whole different bunch of careers, obviously a lot of international DJs. And I can vouch for you, Russell. You're the kind of guy who can just make something out of nothing. And we just described one case, and we worked together for a year, and I really loved it. And the one thing about you is you walk into the room and I would just smile, because we had a lot of fun doing serious things. And you were just telling me a story. Tell us a bit more about MCO hit, and you managed once again to make something out of nothing. So how did you get inspired with your live sessions at home when the first MCO hit a year ago?
Okay, so I'll never forget where I was. I was at my bar, and we got the news, and I was with a bunch of comedians, actually, because we just had we did a comedy show, and everyone was like literally just like sitting in a circle like this, like, what? Except for three guys who weren't Malaysians, and they didn't understand because the official announcement was in Malay, and they were like, "What happened, guys? What?" We had to translate and explain to them. So it was at that moment I thought, okay, I knew it wasn't going to be for 2 weeks. So I started talking to my IT friends that night itself, March 14th, Monday night. And I asked them, if we were to do shows, how would we do it online? Something where we could charge people, give them like a digital pass, they would pay for it. And he threw out a bunch of names. And you know me, I'm hardly tech savvy. I'm not in tune with what's happening on the tech front. So he started telling me about these streaming sites like Twitch. A lot of gamers are streaming on Twitch. And he brought up Zoom. I had never heard of Zoom. Never, ever. And I was like, okay, well, sounds like a lot of work. Went on a bender for 2 weeks. Burned through a couple of cases of alcohol. And it was at home, where one of my friends, so a lot of my close friends have been sort of like, I call them my day ones. From the start of my career, they've been there partying with me. They were friends, and they end up becoming more like what feels more like family. And one of the guys was like, "Hey, is that your guitar in the background?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, play us a song." I was like, "What now?" He was like, "Yeah, play us a song." I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So I played a couple of songs. We laughed. We drank some more. And the next day, while I was nursing a hangover, I was thinking to myself, imagine this, something that's never happened, an unprecedented movement control order. There's only so much Netflix you can watch when you're at home. And I mean, granted, I was up against some pretty stiff competition. I mean, Pornhub was giving out free, free premium subscriptions. So I was like, okay, okay. But I started small. I pulled together because we couldn't leave the house. We couldn't go anywhere. You know, there were no stores open. I couldn't go and buy any extra gear. I couldn't do anything. I put together what I had at home from my old gear. I dug out a lot of stuff. I did a test run. Wasn't too bad. Internet was a problem. I called a good friend of mine. We call him tech support. His name is Ara. Call him tech support Ara, and he talked me through it. Lala moved a booster over to my house, and we did our first show 30 days in. April 18th was the first Russell Curtis home acoustic session. I sold tickets for 25 ringgit, and we sold about 50 tickets, I would say. And this was something even I had no idea what it was going to be like. But people came, they hung out. It was supposed to be an hour show. It went for 3 hours. And that night, I told myself, I said, I think this is something that could get better. So the next call I made was to a good friend from Sonica Productions. His name is Sean Chong. And I will never forget what this guy did for me. He came over to my house during lockdown. He said, I have a pass to travel. I will be very safe. I know it's your home, it's your family. I will wear a mask, I'll sanitize, but I want to help you. And he came over, he brought some gear over, he brought me a mixer, he brought me some cables. And these are the things that you always remember, the kindness that people show you. This is what I will remember, and I will hope to do the same for others. I've tried to do the same for others. So yeah, Sean came, got a whole setup, and it just grew from there. From me with one acoustic guitar, the show grew. I got more and more gear. You can't see all the stuff that's around me, but I'm able to sound like a band. And what happened was, through those shows, people who attended, they were like, we're having a birthday party for a friend. We want to hire you. I was like, well, that's what I do, and this is how we can do it. And I started doing private events. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, behind this whole story, more importantly, I want to put that message out to anyone, because I know it's such a tough time for creatives like us. But I promise you, there is a way. It's not the end of the world. It just feels like it. But take your time, process, get it out of your system, go on a bender for a week, and then take a deep breath, put one foot in front of the other. There is a way. You find the way.
This is real compliment for you, Russell. I've done 104 of these now, and this is one of the best success stories that I've spoken to in the last year. I mean, it's phenomenal what you decided to do, how you've grown, how you've impacted, and you've literally pivoted. I mean, I hear lots of people attempting, and congratulations to everyone who's gone out and found a new stretch, a new way, a new job. And it's no commiserations to people who have struggled. It's totally understandable to find things challenging and find difficulties. But that success story just ramps up what I said before, that you're a man who can make something out of nothing. And the second thing that I really love about it is that you describe the community spirit from, which I love Malaysia for, which is, it could be a time to mope, but someone rang you and said, hey, I'm going to come and help you out. Someone else rang you and said, hey, I really want you to perform at my birthday party. It shows that people supporting other local talents, businesses, friends, etc. I think that's great.
Success, 104. Congratulations, man. 104 of these you've done. Well done.
We've done 600 plus episodes, but different things. We've done workouts, we've done mixes, which I've not done any of the workouts. Master classes. Our friend Alex has done cocktail master classes. But what you did is phenomenal, because you didn't sit back and just say, hey, woe is me. You got up and got through it. There must have been times during that week-long bender that you did sit there and say, what am I going to do next? You must have felt a bit depressed in the situation. What's your advice to people who might be struggling mentally? Because we're in our second lockdown here in Malaysia. Some people in Singapore, etc., might not be aware, but we're going through it phase 2. So what's your advice to people who do find it mentally challenging right now?
I'll tell you when I did actually really feel depressed. It was somewhere around late October, early November, because you see, in July, so we were locked down for 2 months. And then it was like conditional CMCO and all the variations of it. But things started to open up in, I would say, July. I actually had shows outside, like in the flesh. For Merdeka in August, I managed to do a full-on live band concert with my band, the Rowdy Gentlemen, with the horn section. And we had about 100 people in-house, in the flesh, at the B. Shout out to the B. Thanks, Rahul, for taking a chance. And, it actually happened. So that put things into perspective for me. It felt at that time like, oh, wow, what felt so hopeless only lasted for a couple of months. And here we are, back on the road to recovery. There was a lot of irresponsibility. There was the cause for numbers starting to spike again. And that's when I realized, because to me, I don't sweat about the things that you can't control. I only focus on things that I can control for my situation. But that's something that we have no control over, which directly affects all our situation. So that was when I really felt depressed, and I thought, oh man, when is this going to end? But I'll tell you what I did. I told myself, I said, look, it's not going to end. This was my process. I'm not saying it will work for you, but I'm telling you how I dealt with it. I told myself, this is not going to end. You have to come up with a way to carry on with under the assumption that this is not going to end. And that's what I did. I relaunched the Home Acoustic program. I started looking at international streaming platforms, a way that I could build my own list of subscribers. You can't look at one big thing. If you're used to getting a certain amount of revenue a month, you have to forget the whole idea, the idea of replacing that with something else. It has to come from multiple streams, small things adding up to, and start making decisions on what you can live without. In wartime, we have to run lean. So, but make time for yourself, make time for family, because no matter what happens around you, those who are closest to you, nearest and dearest to you, they're the ones that matter. And that's how you get through it. So if you're alone and you're feeling depressed and it's hard and it's heavy, reach out. I promise you, people will reach back.
Yeah, that's really sound, and you're not the first person to say that. And I think anyone who's finding it darker they shouldn't be embarrassed. They shouldn't feel like a burden. They should just ask, because there's always someone who's willing to listen.
There is nothing to feel bad or embarrassed about. I think that is one of the best lessons that we can take from this whole ordeal of over a year now, is that forget all the veneer and all the exterior glamour that you had before. At the end of the day, we are all just people, and something like this can come and just put us all in our place. It's like a hard reset for everyone. You need something, pick up the phone, ask, reach out, call, send a text. Don't sit and suffer alone, please.
So how do we find out? How do we listen more to your live from home? How do people find it? How do they listen in? How do they buy tickets?
Okay, so what I've done now is I started streaming on this platform called Sessions Live. It's a new platform from the States, started by Tim Westergren. He's the guy who started Pandora Music, and they just got out of beta last June, if I'm not mistaken, for Sessions Live. They've been around for a while, but this is the latest version of it. And they have opened auditions to any artist in the world. So I have my own stream now on Sessions Live that goes on every weekend, Friday and Saturday Malaysian time, 9 p.m. You can go to Sessions Live and just look for me. Alternatively, you can come to look for me on social media. The Real Russell Curtis on Facebook and Instagram, and you see all updates. Links to my channel is there. Um, or if you just want to say hi, just reach out. Send me a DM. Anything you need. If you're a musician, if you're sitting at home right now and you don't know what to do next, reach out to me. This is something I did last year. I have an open door to any musician who's finding it hard to go through what we're going through now, who's struggling, who doesn't know what to do. Reach out and I will help you figure it out.
That's phenomenal and incredible of you to be so generous to do such a thing. I know that the various guys who did the Rock the House competition did take your advice and did listen to you and talk to you, and they've all gone on in their own way to different successes, especially regionally. What's your... I want to ask you this for someone who has forged out a career over such a long time and has taken on various different aspects. Whether someone wants to be a recording artist or whether they're just happy to play gigs or they want the excitement of playing to an audience, what's your advice to those home musicians who have used the MCO as a chance to pick up a new skill? Maybe they picked up a guitar, maybe they played the piano or such, and they want to try out being a musician. What's your advice?
Basically, just do it. Don't overthink where to start. Forget the whole idea of it has to be perfect or it has to be. It is what it is. It doesn't have to be the same in a year from now. Start. Just start. And it's like like when I talk to guys about fitness, because I've been trying to get fit during this whole and I've had my ups and downs, but they tell me the same thing. Just start. Just do it. Consistency is key, and that applies to every single journey in life. So if you're a musician right now, if you don't think that you're good enough, of course it's good to set short-term goals. Tell yourself, okay, I want to be doing this in 6 months. What I did last year, my upskill for last year was making sure that I can give back more value through my shows. So, like, for instance, if I were to do this, what I did before was just sit at home and play with one guitar, which is nice, it's just but over the weeks, what I did was I figured, okay, I need to get a system in place where I can make it sound more than just this, because 3 hours of this is going to get boring. So I went and got a looper. So now I can do this. I have a percussionist now, right? Sounds like a whole thing, So that was my upskill for last year. My upskill for this year is I want to be able to play just this. Like I've only used the piano for writing and arrangement, just to get a different feel. But I want to be able to play like a whole song and perform it. So that's what I'm working on. Give yourself these goals, but just start. Don't overthink it. Don't tell yourself, oh, I need to have this before I can do that. Or I need to have this and this and this before I can do that. No, you just need to start and just keep going. That's it.
Wow, that's phenomenal, man. And it's hard to fathom as someone who doesn't really understand the setup, but I can tell you that it's really exciting. Even just to watch you do that explanation gives me goosebumps. And this is the kind of thing you're doing in all your shows, because you're a one-man band, but you're basically a multi-purpose one-man band now.
Yeah. It's really, it gives you more. Because I'll give you an example. This one client wanted to have a birthday party, and it was 10 households who couldn't come and visit each other. So everyone got into a Zoom call, and I was a sort of a surprise, and I showed up. And like I said, I mean, it's nice in certain moments when you do the acoustic solo singing thing, but they were ready to party. And how do you give them that? You know, this is how I give them that.
Big room. You're basically a big room band.
Mm-hmm. And you work with what you have. You know, it's really. I mean, imagination is the only limit. You know?
Russell, man, it's been so good to rekindle with you after such a long time, and it gives me some flashbacks of some really fun nights we had. And I'd never been much of, I would say, someone that would. I went to Glastonbury and I went to see Oasis play at Wembley, but I would never go to local music bars and clubs. And when we worked at Lifehouse together, I really used to look forward to the weekends and singing along. And I just have some amazing memories of my time, my last 5-6 years in Malaysia with you. And to rekindle with you and for you to give us a chance to jump back through the years has been a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Thank you for reaching out. It's been really fun seeing you and chatting with you again. I hope you guys are all doing all right up there in the mountains.
My upskill, Russell, is to I basically now I just roam with the monkeys up here. I'm basically one of the jungle folk, and I roam across to the building in the morning and I roam back out to the trees in the evening. That's how I live now.
You and Alex still doing your
Wing Chun.
Yeah, Wing Chun.
It's been a while, dude. I haven't been called up to do any Ip Man films, which I'm desperately sad about. But so just before we go, Russell, touch on it, because I was there when you did your first ever comedy show, and I remember you saying to me you were more nervous about doing the stand-up than you ever have been about singing.
Well, I tell you what, in 2019, I did quite a bit of comedy. And that was actually one of the awesome things that happened in 2020. So I did sets at the Crack House Comedy Club, which is truly the home of the grassroots comedy scene here. And I learned so much. You know, I practically lived at that club 3 to 4 nights a week for months. And they took me in, and what happened was I did one show online for them when they were first starting out. And this guy Jimmy Earl from the US, he was like, "Hey man, I love this stuff," because I like what I used to do. I incorporate the music, or rather incorporate the comedy into the music. And he called me, and I did a show in Sacramento online. But that was my first venture into comedy in the US.
Wow.
Yeah. So hey, as soon as things open up again, I'm gonna get back at it for sure.
So, dude, you're basically like the Jack Black Tenacious D of Malaysia.
Well, yeah, kind of, I guess. That's actually what some people call me, Jack Black.
I'm not surprised. Well, look, Russell, man, I could do this for 3 hours, just like you said your first show on your life was. But
yeah.
I can't thank you enough. It's been a mixture of great fun, great throwbacks, but some phenomenal advice thrown in, because you're a man who can be candid about life's experiences. You were honest enough to say that you had some struggles, but you came through the other side, and exactly how. And I think this has been a really informative, educational, but wholesome chat, and one of the ones that I've enjoyed the most. So thank you so much.
Thanks, man. It was really good hearing from you.
And I can't wait to catch up afterwards. We got to give a shout out to Steve, who brought us together. Steve, who used to own Lifehouse.
Yeah, man.
What happened?
Hasn't been back to Malaysia in a while now.
Yeah. He's the other side of the straits, living a good life, and
he's on the better side of the straits.
But Russell, take care. Promise us you and your family will stay safe. Obviously, we look forward to the cases dropping off, and when we can, we will come and support you in person.
Looking forward to catching up in person over a drink.
For sure. Take care, my friend. Look after yourself and stay safe.
Take care, Joe.